isn't, this will be very short. So,
Well, John, the internet normally hates you, but now the actual internet hates us both, like the actual Wi-Fi connection. So we'll see if the overlords let us get through this.
I don't know what's going on with my internet connection here. I literally have the fastest thing you can pay for in Cleveland. So I don't know what the problem is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as fast as it goes. So I'll have to call them tomorrow and see if I can figure it out. But anyway, to answer your earlier question, I was in Columbus over the weekend, and we did that veterans workout, and then Monday we did a benchmark workout, Angie, which is 100 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 air squats for time. Which, by the way, I'm going to complain here for a minute at affiliate owners all over the country. I can't tell you how many people messaged me when I posted that workout and said, is it partition? Can you do it any way you want? Like, affiliate owners, get off your ass and start doing benchmark workouts.
That's
Like,
crazy.
that thing has been around since God knows when. It was like one of the first workouts I learned over a decade ago. And the fact that people are asking, I've never seen this. It means affiliates aren't doing benchmark workouts. And it drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts.
And to answer everyone's question, who's obviously like, wait, so is it unpartitioned? No, the entire design of that workout is to do it unpartitioned. And I will say that the sorest I have ever been, and I think we've talked about on this podcast, was when I came back from a college Christmas break, having not worked out for like a month. I did Angie and I PR'd, but I also PR'd my potential for rhabdo. And I couldn't extend my arms for like a week. So be careful if you're hopping into Angie, especially if you haven't been hitting the pull up volume. It can be one that really blows you up.
Oh, it blew me up. I'm in pain, dude. Both arms hurt, chest hurts, lats hurt. Like, I went at it hard. I had not done it in, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, wanted to see what my time would be. And I found out, and I paid for it. It definitely
but at least you know what your time was now.
I PR'd it, so that's worth something, I guess. But I knew I could do the sit-ups and the air squats unbroken, so I'm like, all right, I just got to figure out how to get through these push-ups. And man, they tore me up, man. They hurt.
Yeah.
They hurt. And then today was a bunch of double underwork today with some rowing and some biking, and fortunately my calves have recovered since doing that workout on 30. So I think I'm getting it together, getting my life back together, slowly but surely.
And then maybe the internet will work, and then everything will just be clicking on all cylinders for you, man.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to count on that. I've had too many issues with it lately. So I guess it's just going to be an ongoing frustration that I can't seem to solve. But,
well, the good news, or maybe bad news, is that you have 99 days to fix it before the CrossFit Open.
Well, I don't need the internet to do the CrossFit Open, but I agree. We're 100 days away. So that's kind of exciting, I guess. Hard to believe it's that quick.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to be setting yourself up for it really well, since I know you're staying pretty focused on that on the Wadapalooza workout, the gauntlet. Sorry, couldn't come up with the name. Because you're so focused on the gauntlet, like I know you're going to be really prepared. But if you weren't focused on the gauntlet, what would you be doing anything different right now if you're trying to prepare for the Open? Or are you like most CrossFitters, where about a week and a half away from the Open they start to panic, and then anxiety sets in, and then the first workout is released and they're like, oh my god, double unders, I did not see that coming.
Oh my god, there's going to be thrusters? That never happens in the Open. Well, I don't know if I would do anything wildly different. I've done enough Opens at this point to know that the first thing I do kind of this far out is define what I want to accomplish. I think that's like, if you could do anything right now, consider I got 100 days, the very first thing you got to do is go, what do I want to accomplish? And so define your goal, figure out what you want that to be. So for me, it's going, all right, do I want to RX every workout? Do I think I may have to scale some? Do I want to just improve my performance year over year? Do I have a specific movement I want to be prepared for? Do I just want to beat my buddy? Like I had whole years early on when my only goal in the open was to beat the two guys I worked out with every morning at 5 a.m. That was it. And it was 5-week open in those days. And every week we'd put up the stack ranking and see who was winning. And there was always a lot of debate between, do you use the stack ranking or is it who wins the most out of the 5? Because there can be a big difference between that. You can win 3 out of 5 and still not win the stack ranking. Like against the greater population. But when there's just 3 of you, it's kind of a different ball game. So I think you have to define those goals. For me this year is to make quarterfinals. So that's my goal. So to improve what I did last year and to make quarterfinals would be a big win for me. But I know everyone has different goals, and so I just think mentally that's the best thing going in, is to think about how you want to get ready to do whatever it is you want to accomplish. How do you normally look at it when you go in?
Yeah, I love that question. And actually, I'm going to loop in. I don't have the feature to add it to the screen, but I know you're working off your phone right now. But a guy, Mike, asked, what is the optimal start time to start training for the Open? Why do you think some athletes think that training in November might be too early to start training for it? So basically, when we say training for the Open, that is a full year endeavor, right? As soon as the Open stops, technically you're training for the next year's Open. And we've talked about that on the podcast before, about how there needs to be a seasonality to your actual CrossFit season, meaning there should be a dedicated off season, with probably a strength focus. And then you have a mid season, which is learning the skills. And then you have kind of like getting ready for the postseason, and then peaking for, let's say, the Open, where you're actually you're doing a bunch of CrossFit looking workouts. So right now we're already pretty deep into the season, and we're starting to make that transition from mid season. We've practiced some skills. We're in the volume accumulation phase to probably 60 days ish out from the actual CrossFit Open. So maybe another month of volume accumulation stuff from today. In about a month, our coaches are going to start programming a lot more CrossFit style looking workouts. So that's where you're going to see a lot of open retest workouts. So workouts from past year's Opens, we're going to be retesting them and seeing if we can improve. And what you find in a lot of open workouts is they're generally, have a skill component, and they're I'd say they're high intensity, but they're not very heavy. Generally, open workouts aren't extremely heavy with the barbell, and they're not extremely high skill. So you have that nice sweet spot where an open workout will be 12-minute ascending ladder of toes to bar and power cleans or something like that. Just kind of combos like that. And honestly, the best way to practice it is by going and doing some of the old open workouts on a consistent basis. But you're not ready to do the old open workouts on a consistent basis until you've done the other parts of the season. So I don't think November is too early I would say it's almost too late. If you haven't started training, then yeah, it's going to be a rude awakening over the next 99 days. But in terms of in November, right now, November 8th is when we're recording this, should I be doing just retests of open workouts every day, all day? No, not quite yet. I'm going to save that for maybe the final 30 to 60 days going into the Open.
Yeah, I don't think it's too early to start preparing for the Open. I do think it's far too early to start obsessing about the Open.
Oh, yeah.
And to your point, when people start obsessing, that's when they go, okay, I have to go do 17.1 and 17.2 and 17.3. Well, we better start doing the 18s too while we're at it. And they start redoing all these workouts and blowing up their normal training. And I think that's for me, that's the mindset between now and probably, well, you got 100 days out. So for the next 50 days, if it were me doing the programming, I would say don't mess up your programming. Don't change your programming to start doing open style workouts.
Right. You should still be learning skills. You should still be getting stronger. You don't have to do open style workouts all the time, because that's testing, and we should still be training. And again, this is specifically for people who are obsessing over the Open. There's for, I think, a very large part of the population of CrossFitters, they want to do CrossFit to get a decent workout in, and then they like happen to have fun in the open. In which case, yeah, doing a strength and a metcon, 5 days a week, totally fine. Is it going to maximize your preparedness for the open? No, but will you generally probably have a good time doing the open? Yes. So again, it all like kind of lies in the intention of like, are you trying to maximize your score and get every single optimization you possibly can, and like truly see what you're capable of from an athlete perspective, or are you someone who's just like, I participate in the open because it's fun to see my progress through the years and where I stand as a whole? There's kind of two different goals there.
I think most people would really benefit from just looking at it in its simplest form and go, if I want to give my best performance, what are the easiest things I can get started on right now to start preparing? And they're the things, they're so easy, but they're not. And they're the things we talk about all the time. For me, the number one thing on that list is nutrition. Like, you have 100 days, you can do a lot of good things to your body in 100 days.
And I would say, actually, I'll ask it in the form of a question. Like, when it comes to open performance and doing well in the open, let's say we have 100 days left. Are we bulking? Are we trying to lean out? We're trying to gain a bunch of muscle. Like, what do you think is the right move here for most people?
Well, I mean, I'll use your line and say there's a lot of, there's a lot between that, dude. There's so much, so many ways you can go with that. For me, it would be lighter is better for gymnastics movements. And there's always a gymnastics movement that comes up. That doesn't mean it's not one size fits all, but if you're likely going to see muscle ups and potentially handstand push-ups, double unders, a lot of those kind of fast twitch movements, if you can drop 5 pounds, and I don't know if the math on this is right, but someone told me once that for every 5 pounds you lose, that's 40 pounds of pressure on your knees that goes away.
I don't know about all that, but I do know that when it comes to body weight gymnastics, not wearing a weight vest helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's huge. It just makes you faster. And so I think that's something people could think about, but I don't know if you necessarily have to lean down. It could just be how you're fueling your body you need to look at. So I think you got to balance that some. So for me, like, I've been focusing on body composition, not on losing weight. And so it's really been prioritizing protein and carbs into my training to make sure that I'm recovering better and that I've got enough energy for these workouts, and that I still want to build muscle while I'm breaking stuff down. So I haven't really gotten a lot leaner, but I've absolutely gotten faster because of that. And consequently, a lot of the body weight stuff has gotten easier to some degree, so I just think you have to look at, are there nutritional changes you could make that are easy? Like, so I'm not advocating whole scale diet here or going and getting a nutritionist and getting crazy. I'm just saying, just look at a few things that you have going on, and can you make some subtle changes in your day to day that might make this better for you? Like, I don't know, not drinking during the week. Like I did sober October, dude, I feel great. Like during the week, still drinking these stupid non-alcoholic beers on a Tuesday night. And it tastes great. And I can get up in the morning and go do a workout at, whatever time and not feel hungover or bloated or whatever. And, getting better training sessions in because of that have made a big difference for me, and that's without, that's not a huge give up, and, you gave up coffee at one time, that for that month to, kind of do a similar thing. So I just think there are some subtle things you can look at and say, why don't I give this a try, see if it improves my performance.
Yep. And then I think, like, beyond the nutrition, I think that one of the most important things that you can do right now, 100 days out from the open, is really focus on open skill accumulation. Because really, in 100 days, you could get stronger, right? But the proportional strength gains between, like, all right, let's say, are you going to add a ton of weight to your back squat and deadlift and snatch and clean and jerk? Or could you make a major breakthrough in something like the muscle up or double unders or toes to bar, the odds of making a really big breakthrough on some sort of gymnastics piece, way higher, because of like it just takes a long time to get strength gains. And a lot of these bodyweight gymnastics things, it's very much like a skill or like a motor pattern or like some body awareness, or like boom, all of a sudden it clicks. I've seen people learn double unders in a matter of like 2 days just because they put in the effort and boom, they were able to make a click. And then the proportional feedback from that is huge, right? The difference from finishing 100,000th in your division in a double under workout versus, top 20% is very much predicated on being able to do those double unders. And you could learn those in 2 days. You're not going to add, 20, 30 pounds to your 1 rep maxes in a matter of 2 or 3 days. So I would say highly focused now on what are the movements that are showing up in the CrossFit Open. And of course, if you Google that, one of our articles will show up. Just say CrossFit Open movements and then slap a WOD prep on the end of it. We have a really cool article about it where we go through like what are the movements that show up in each and every CrossFit Open. And you'll notice a lot of those movements, like an overwhelming majority of them, are bodyweight style gymnastics. And if you really focus on those, you can get efficiencies and unlock movement patterns that will make your scores and leaderboard climb tremendously, just because there's so much to learn and so much that you can kind of have click at the last minute.
Yeah, back in the old days, we did
back in my day.
What was the workout? It was 150 wall balls. I forget what year it was, but it's 150 wall balls, 90 double unders, and 30 muscle ups. You remember that one? It was an AMRAP, like 17-minute AMRAP or something.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, and in those days, if you got one muscle up, you blew past thousands of people. This is before anybody could do muscle ups.
Yeah, tens of thousands. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, you'd have bragging rights for all eternity that you were basically going to regionals.
and that's exactly what I'm talking about, John. Is like that. So that still exists. I know, like back in you're saying, oh, back in my day, but that gap still exists. Yeah, that gap now is like lower on the leaderboard, right? Like what back in the day, getting one muscle up would put you maybe in the top 30%. Now getting one muscle up puts you in the top 70% or something like that. But there still is a huge gap created for the athletes. There's so many, tens of thousands of athletes that will hit that proverbial wall in a workout, whether that's a skill wall, like, a ring muscle up or a bar muscle up or a handstand push-up or a handstand walk or whatever. If you can learn how to do one of those things, just one of that high skill movement under fatigue, and then hit it in the open, boom. That's like each rep, like 10,000 places, every single rep that you can do. And this is specifically for those people who are kind of like right on the bubble between skilled and RX when it comes to that movement. If you can learn to RX at tired, my challenge in 100 days, if you can learn how to do one bar muscle up under fatigue and one ring muscle up under fatigue, one handstand push up under fatigue, and then, like a 5-foot handstand walk under fatigue. If you can learn all of those things in the next 100 days, which is doable, then you're going to be ready to crush the open, because you're going to be able to get that rep when the moment counts.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. It is interesting to me how that distance between the athletes that can do those movements and those that can't, though, is shortening every single year. Like last year we had bar muscle ups, and I did really well in the workout that had them, and thought to myself, man, I'm gonna make up so much ground, and I didn't make up anywhere near what I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
The open magic is real, and I think people are being smart and listening to podcasts like this and watching videos and just trying to prepare more. And then also, like, as a collective whole, it's incredible how the CrossFit Open proves how much more fit CrossFit is making the general CrossFit population. Like, it's crazy. Like myself, if I went back, let's say 10 years ago, I would be I'd be a high level athlete 10 years ago, right? I'd be like regional-ish, like I'd be very high level. in terms of percentage within the sport.
Yeah.
And now I am very much not. I didn't even make granted, I didn't redo any workouts, and I wasn't really focused on it, but I thought for sure I was going to be able to make the quarterfinal. No problem. I just, whatever. If I just do the workouts, I'll be fine. I'll make it in. Nope. I was like a tenth of a percent out from making it into it was like a very, very small amount of places.
Right.
And I didn't even make the next round. And I kind of was like, whoa, holy cow. Like, that's crazy. Because I don't know, I'm a pretty decent CrossFitter, but apparently not anymore, not top 10%. So I think it's amazing. I think that the bar is being moved. But for people listening, and wanting to maximize their score and wanting to maximize their open performance, and even for everyone listening who says, I don't care about it, I promise you in 100 days, you're going to wish that you listened to the advice in this podcast because so many people, once the open comes around, that's when they're like, you know what? I wish I had taken it seriously. Like, I wish I had tried a little bit more, or wish I had done this or that to prepare myself to be in this position. Because whether you think it means anything or not, it's fun and it's competitive, and it really does show you where you stack up.
Right. So here's a one I give you. So I would love your opinion on this. I think a huge part of the open or that people struggle with is the mental anxiety that comes with an unknown workout every week. You get it announced to you on, let's say they do it on Thursday, and then you got to go do this thing Friday night, right? And it freaks people out. So you want to train for that? Quit looking at Wodify before you go into your gym.
Yep.
Or Sugar Water, whatever you use, like whatever program your gym has. Quit preparing the night before for your workouts. Just take your gym bag, fill it with all your shit, and go to the gym. Just show up and do it. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of freedom in just showing up, looking at the board, and go, all right, that's what we're doing, and having a plan on the fly.
Yep.
Which is what happens in the open. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into an open workout with all the the butterflies and the anxiety of having that 24 hours before, of running 1,000 scenarios in my head that I've never had to run scenarios in my head before.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a really good piece of advice, because I guess if I see a workout that's happening tomorrow, there's nothing like the actual open anxiety. Like, it's going to happen. It happens to me every year. It still happens to me because I don't know. It's the way that the open works in my head. But if you have the confidence to show up at your gym and be able to do anything that the whiteboard throws at you, then you can kind of have this peace of mind that it's so much better than, let's say the open workout is announced and you're like, man, if it's one of these 3 movements, I'm completely screwed. And you just get all that anxiety waiting for it to come up. And then when the open workout is released and, oh shoot, that movement's there. And then all you're like is, am I going to be able to hit my double unders tomorrow? Oh my gosh. Like, I hope I can do it. I hope it's a good day for me. But if you practice showing up and doing everything blind, that is a very, very good way to prepare. Michael McCown asks, how about muscle endurance, such as thrusters, wall balls, barbell cycling? Are you preparing for those things as well, beyond just the skills? John, I'll let you answer on your side.
Well, I'll tell you how I'm currently handling that. I don't know if I would do anything outside of my normal programming, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to advocate for people to start taking on extra programs and doing 100 different things that their coaches aren't already giving them at the gym. You know what I mean? Like, I first and foremost follow your programming at your affiliate. I think that's important. But I do think that having a good engine can get you through those. Like, it's like form and engine are 2 different things, but you need them both. So if you want to be good at thrusters, wall balls, and barbell cycling, with thrusters and barbell cycling, you got to drill that. And some of that happens in the WOD. Maybe some of it happens before, and working with your coach to make sure your form's really good, particularly on thrusters where you got to breathe at the top and, make sure. And I know you have a class on that, I'm sure. But I just saw a video you did on that, by the way. It was really good.
Yeah.
And wall balls are not that different, but you don't get good at wall balls. Guess what? You got to do a shit ton of wall balls. Like, it's not much more than that. So So for me, it's the balance of you have to have good form in those movements, but you also have to have enough of an engine to do them. The reality is that the open workouts, what's the longest one we've ever had? 20 something minutes?
I want to say 21 minutes. Is
Yeah,
that right?
something like that. Yeah, maybe. Right.
Like, yeah,
I
around 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I routinely, and I mean routinely, do workouts 30 to 45 minutes, at least once a week, at least. And so when I'm, like today, I had two 11-minute AMRAPs with 4 minutes in between. Was not worried at all. I had no fear of the time domain because I've done that so many times. I already knew what it was going to feel like. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for most people in the open is they're like, oh my God, a 21-minute AMRAP. How am I going to get this done? It's because you've never done it, or you haven't done it enough that you
Right.
don't know how it's going to feel.
Right.
And so if you can push some of those workouts longer, all of a sudden 20 minutes doesn't seem like a big deal anymore when you're doing 30 and 40-minute workouts.
Yep.
So
Yep. I
that was
agree.
a long answer. Sorry.
Yeah. And on my end, I would say, like, again, so the question was, how about muscle endurance, such as thrusters, wall balls, barbell cycling? Are you practicing those as well? I think so. These are kind of different things. So muscle endurance for thrusters and wall balls, I would say, yeah. I mean, that's all part of building an engine and an aerobic base. But I think something like barbell cycling is treated actually more similarly to like a gymnastic skill. Like, there's barbell skills. So you still should be accumulating skills right now. And that would fall into barbell cycling. So the muscular endurance kind of stuff, that actually is kind of the phase that, if you're following WODPR programming, that's the phase that they're in right now, which is volume accumulation. So you're going to be doing like maybe pairings of things, or for the strength portion, you're working to large touch and go sets with the barbell and learning how to cycle it. So those are the kinds of things that you need to practice sort of in this sweet spot of the season. And then again, towards the end, that's when you're just like, you're doing the workouts, like you're doing actual CrossFit workouts that combine like the strength, the endurance, the barbell skill work, yada, yada, yada. So I would treat a lot of things like their skills. And yeah, I mean, biggest tip for wall balls, and I'll give you a spoiler because I think we actually just released a video about this. My biggest tip for wall balls right now, do yourself a favor and upgrade the weight of your wall ball. So if you're in the men's division, that means don't throw a wall ball that's 20 pounds or less from now until the open. Get a heavier ball, whether it's a 22 pounder or 25 pounder or a 30 pounder. Use that in all of your wall ball workouts, and I promise you, when the open comes around, you'll be much more prepared. Same thing for the ladies. It's like, throw to the 10-foot target and upgrade your wall ball weight, even if it's just a little bit. I promise you, that's going to make it so much easier once the inevitable horrible wall ball workout shows up in the open.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I completely agree with that. But I also think people often think, well, I have to get so much stronger on this barbell cycling. Usually on the barbell in the open, you see 75 pounds.
No, it's just skill. It's more of a finesse game almost.
So I feel like I see too many people, in their kind of their day-to-day training going as heavy as possible. And often maybe you should put the 75 on and focus on getting through those snatches quick. Like, you getting your heart rate up. Like, that's what they're intended to do, is jack your heart rate up and make everything else harder. Like, you got to practice that,
Yeah. And I like what Ken said, Ken Grano, about December, I start drilling one or two of my weaknesses in prep for the open, about 2 days per week, Saturday and Wednesday, keeping the intensity low. I mean, that's perfect. That's awesome. That's what we suggest at WODPR too, is like that 2 to 3 days per week of skill focused work. And yeah, if you can stack two that aren't necessarily butting heads together. So like, I wouldn't stack, let's say, kipping pull-up work with muscle up work, right? Because it's both pulling movements. But if you could do something with like maybe handstand push-ups and pull-ups, that'd be great, right? Because you got to push and a pull, or double unders and something that doesn't involve jumping. Those kind of things. If you can stack two skills, or maybe even three, that aren't butting heads on muscle groups, then you'll be even better.
You shouldn't listen to Ken. He did Angie with me this week, and he crushed me like a grape. Absolutely crushed me. It wasn't even close. He was done so soon. He went home, changed, showered, came back, watched the rest of my workout. It was great.
Nice.
Just destroyed me. Very depressing on my part. I tell you what, I would not.
We should definitely listen to Ken. It sounds like.
Yeah, you should. He's very fit. I tell you what, I would not start doing right now that I think people fall into the trap of. I would not start redlining workouts on a regular basis. I think people go, open's coming, gotta puke. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
they start going as hard as they can all the time. You gotta like 100 days is a long time, man. And if you
Yep.
start redlining workouts 3 days a week, you risk injury. You're going to over fatigue yourself. You're likely going to start drilling bad form. Like that's
Sure.
the biggest problem of all. And just creating more problems for yourself, creating imbalances or whatever.
Well, and if we look at the average CrossFit Open workout from the average CrossFitter, what do they do way too early in every single open workout? Red line, right?
Yep.
Because they're not used to the energy that comes with the open. They're not used to like having the score matter as much. They're maybe not used to a judge. They're not used to a bunch of people cheering them on. So that red line occurrence is so much more likely. So this ties in perfectly to the most recent comment we got on Facebook. Jason Gregg says, every minute on the minute training builds body fatigue awareness and pacing, thus translating into better AMRAP success. I tend to agree with that. Like I love doing EMOMs with either one movement or maybe like a couplet, or you can alternate stuff like that. But doing EMOMs helps teach you how to stay within a window of time, but also not burn out. Like I remember back in the day doing these crazy 30-minute EMOMs every single Wednesday. And we would do those leading up to the open, because the only way you're getting through a 30-minute EMOM is if you pace things perfectly and you learn how to hold that pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're doing 10 burpee box jump overs in a given minute, it's like, that is miserable. It's terrible. 10 burpee box jump overs normally, like, it takes me about like, I don't know, maybe 40 seconds or something like that. And it would just be like, I had to keep my pace. I had to make sure that I kept everything under control, because I'll have just a little teeny bit of rest before moving into the next station and the next minute. But if I let myself get off pace a little bit, or go too fast and red line, or go too slow, then the wheels would fall off the bus. So that was EMOMs are a great way to really hone your timing, and then also your pacing, and making sure that you don't redline completely.
It's amazing how much EMOMs like that really help you figure out where to take breaks in other workouts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you really start to like, you only have a minute to get it done. And so what you're really learning is how many reps you can get done in 60 seconds. And then you're going, all right, well, I can't work for the full 60 seconds every minute. So how many can I get in 40 seconds or 45 seconds? And now what you're drilling is, all right, if I gave myself a 10-second break in this workout, or a 15-second break, where would I be? Where should I be? And you can really start to judge the way a workout should shape for you. Like we had the 2 11-minute AMRAPs today. I had done a very similar workout a couple of weeks before. And so that was an EMOM, but instead of an AMRAP like today. So I knew going in how many rounds I should get, and there's a lot of power in that, of being able to go in and going, I know how hard I should have to push here, and when I should break and when I shouldn't, and toward the end, then I can start to, stretch a little bit and push closer to my red line.
Yep. And I think Lance has a really good comment here. It's all about finding a fine line, starting smart, find your groove in the middle of the workout, and then in the end, you have a final kick to empty the tank right before the end of the workout. And that's pretty much every single open video that I've ever made. That's almost exactly the strategy from a pacing perspective. It's like, you have to like throttle yourself back in the beginning, because if you do that, you can get into the groove of the workout. There's always like this big middle section where you're just trying not to go too fast to red line, but you also don't want to go so slow that you're recovering necessarily in the workout. And then there's like that really, really good sweet spot at the end where it's like, all right, all systems go. It's blackout mode, essentially. Right. And I think a lot of inexperienced CrossFitters don't know how to do those three things. They don't know how to throttle back in the beginning. They redline way too early somewhere in the middle. And then by the end, they're a slug. But it's the person who has the discipline and the energy and the calmness to be able to like start at one pace and then like slowly ramp it up at the end, like Rich Froning did for so many years so perfectly. Or just be able to keep that pace the whole time, and you don't even need to speed up at the end because you're just so dialed in.
All right, here's my last tip, and I'll turn it over to you for your last tip. So my last tip, you got 100 days track everything. I say this all the time, but you'll have 100 days worth of data between now and week 1 of the CrossFit Open, where you can measure your heart rate, you can measure what you've been eating before a workout, on which of those workouts ended up being effective, which ones weren't. You can measure your sleep to see if you were effective the night after getting X amount of sleep or not effective. Like, there's so much you can look at. It's going to give you so much power when you go into the Open to prepare for what those 3 to possibly 4 workouts are going to look like, and to be prepared the day before. So track everything, and we can talk more about that on a later show, because I track so much stuff and I can do an entire episode on everything I track. But I think it's important to capture data so you can use it for improving your performance.
Love it. All right, let's see. My tip. I got it. So my tip is, I want you to take 2 movements, probably skills, that you're going to focus the next roughly 100 days, 90 days, whatever, on. Those 2 skills, one of those skills needs to be a skill that you're like, so you can RX it, you're just not very good at it. So one that I see a lot of people can do this is toes to bar. Right? It's like they can do toes to bar. They just swing around like a crazy monkey, or they, always have to do singles every single time, which can be good, but usually not,
Right.
Whatever. So I want you to take a skill that you're mediocre at. And also I want you to take a skill that is just slightly outside of your abilities right now. So that I'm talking to everyone who's never done a muscle up before, but you can do 10 strict pull-ups. You're just like, I've never really done a muscle up. I don't think I can do one. I want you to take a movement or a skill that's just outside of your ability levels right now. And I want you to work towards that. So twofold. One that's like, I'm not very good at it, but I can RX it. We need to improve that. And then I need you to learn something new that you haven't done yet, or at least attempt it. That could be your first handstand push-up, first muscle up, first handstand walks, first pistol, right? There's a lot of these skills that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. But the Open magic works because it forces you to attempt it. But I can force you right now, we're going to call it the podcast magic. If I can force you to do that now, then you're going to have that confidence to do that muscle up or to do that handstand walk or whatever the movement is that's going to shut you down. And then to do this homework, once you've picked your 2 skills, I want you to work on each one of those skills twice a week for about 10 to 15 minutes. And if you do more, 15, 30 minutes, that's maybe a little bit better. But it could be something as simple as like Monday, if I do 15 minutes of skill 1, Tuesday, 15 minutes of skill 2, Wednesday, 15 minutes of skill 1, Friday, 15 minutes of skill 2. And if you do that, I promise you are going to be so much more prepared for the Open.
Agreed. The one tip we didn't give, we should have. If none of this works, if all the stuff we laid out that didn't work, just go buy new shoes. That always works. Always.
Just go buy new shoes. Don't watch the Whopper video. It's trash. Just go buy new shoes.
Hey, new shoes are great, dude. I got the new Rads.
Oh, that reminds me. We need to have my buddy Jake on, because he is the shoe connoisseur. He knows more about shoes. He has a YouTube channel that all he does is review CrossFit shoes and compare them and talk about fit and durability and yada, yada, yada. So he has the Rads too. How do you like them?
I love them. They're a little heavy, but I love them. Yeah, they're we've had the Innovate shoes for a while. They're a little heavier than the 300s, just a little. But they feel like a good mix between the Nano and the Metcon. Like, they're a little tight. Tight's not the right word. They're snug in the middle, good toe box, really good heel, and they're super sturdy.
Yeah.
So
Jake's if we get him on, he'll talk our ears off about all the different technical terms and the midfoot, yada, yada, all that stuff. All I know is that he did, I think within 10 minutes of playing pickleball with them, tore a hole in the top of the Rads. And that's probably because they're not pickleball shoes.
Right.
But I think with CrossFit, they're probably great. So just go buy new shoes. Honestly, none of this advice even matters if you don't have good shoes.
Yeah, you just need good shoes. What else is there really?
More just new shoes. Who cares if they're good? Just new ones, fresh ones.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else you have going on this week? Anything we didn't talk about?
Nope, I'm just gonna be sitting in a tree stand a bunch, and yeah, hopefully our internet will be a little bit more stable, so we can do a full episode next week and the week after, and all the other weeks leading up to the Open. But obviously, if anyone has any questions or anyone has any specific topics, especially open focus, we can talk about. Be sure to message me on Instagram or John on Instagram, and we can add it to the list of things we want to get through.
Yeah, but mostly message Ben. So, all right. Well, good luck
I have
this
more
week.
time. I have a little bit more time. Actually, I do need people to message me, so I'm just going to be sitting in a tree stand for a week. So I'm going to be Chatty Cathy on Instagram this week.
All right. Well, I'll be in Cincinnati this weekend visiting my daughter. My oldest turns 21, so we're going down there for her birthday. We're going to go watch some football and hang out and just have family time. So
Sweet. So don't bother John. No one bother John.
No, everybody can message. It'll be fine. Look, they're going to go out and do their partying thing. They're 21-year-olds, like they go hit bars and flirt with
You
boys.
should go with them.
No, I'm not going to bar. I'm not going to be the old
And then
guy
you'll
in the
get like
bar.
recognized. You'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy!" And then your daughters will be
in a college bar. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure
man.
we have so many college age students that watch the show, Ben. I'm sure. So
I'm telling you.
all right, bro. Well, good luck this week, and for everyone listening, appreciate you guys joining, and we'll chat with you guys again next week. Take care.
Peace.